Hey guys, it's Dawn and I am super excited for today's video because I'm actually collabing with my friend Rebeccah Rodriguez. I feel like it's fitting that I have her debut novel on display right here. It is Fairytale, which is the first novel in the Pixie Chronicles, a new adult retelling of a bunch of different fairy tales. So the first book is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. I really enjoyed it. I actually did a full review on my channel like a few months ago, I think. So I'll link that review down below, as well as Rebeccah's channel and a link to her version of this collab. That'll all be in the description box. So recently Rebeccah and I realized that in August and September we're both doing massive revising and editing projects. So we thought it would be fun to come together and kind of create a list of questions for both of us to answer, to kind of show two different examples of how you can go about revising and editing your novel. And then with those questions, you can kind of create a starting point for your own revising and editing, and perhaps even create a checklist for yourself if that's something that you think would be helpful for you. So hopefully you guys will be able to take away from both of these videos things that will help you in your own revising and editing process, whether that's a mix of both of our different methods or more one than the other. Whatever it is, these are both to entertain and to assist you in your writing process. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into the questions. There are 10 of them, and of course the first one is, what project are you working on? So I have kind of talked about it in a few videos here and there, but if you're new to my channel or if you missed that somehow, I am writing an urban/contemporary fantasy trilogy, and this is actually the first book of the trilogy that I finished the first draft of in July during Camp NaNoWriMo, and now I'm jumping into revising and editing for this project. So the gist of the story is you have two humans, Stanislav and Feder, who are accidentally swept up into the magical world. The government in the magical world doesn't really know what to do with them because this is highly unusual. So they call on a half-blood dark elf, Thomas Vinnigan, to kind of babysit them back in the non-magical world. Vinnigan works as a vampire hunter, so the two kind of unfortunate humans are forced into a new role where they try to help this kind of aloof, not very friendly dark elf who really doesn't want them there to succeed in his mission as a vampire hunter. Question number 2 is, what is your editing experience? Full disclosure, this is actually the very first complete novel first draft I've ever completed. So that being said, I don't have a lot of experience revising and editing full novels, so this is very new to me. In the past, I've written many short stories, a couple novellas, so I do have experience revising and editing those. I wrote a novel with a friend, which I don't really count as me writing a novel, and that was years and years ago. So I did a little revising there, which I'll probably fall a little bit back on that experience, but ultimately, like I said, this is pretty new for me. So it's going to be an interesting adventure, and you guys are going to get to see all my failures along the way and hopefully learn something from those failures. So question number 3 is kind of a two-part one. The first part is, what is your personal approach to revision/editing? And then part 2, do you split up your edits into rounds or tackle everything at once? So I'm still fairly new to the AuthorTube world, which has a lot of its own kind of lingo. So my understanding of rounds as far as revisions and editing are concerned is that instead of approaching a project, page by page or chapter by chapter and just going chronologically and revising everything at once, you're splitting your novel into different categories. So your first round, for example, could be that you're focusing on the main plot. The second round is the B plot. The third round is world building. Fourth round, character development, and so on and so forth. So each time you go through and each round you go through your novel is a different focus. So I feel like my method that I'm going to be using most closely fits the concept of rounds. Because I'm kind of winging it a little bit since I'm so new to this, I don't know precisely how many rounds I'm going to be doing, but I know the ones I'm going to be starting with, and I'll kind of go into that in the next question. Question number 4, what are your specific objectives for this editing project? So this is where my rounds come in. The very first and main and most important objective I have is to work on the main mystery of the story. So because it's quasi-urban fantasy, there's kind of a detective slash mystery element to the story, and that's the main plot line in the middle section of the book. And I feel like it's very weak and, I don't know, predictable in my first draft. So I really want to stretch it out, develop it more, have believable clues, make it a lot more interesting so that when you finally figure out the mystery at the end, all of the clues to come together and you're really satisfied as the reader. So that's my most important objective, and that will be my first round of revisions. And I definitely think it will take the longest, so it should be interesting. The second objective I have, and I guess the second round of revisions I'm going to be doing, is focusing on the world building in my book. World building is very, very important in fantasy and science fiction since you're introducing a lot of new concepts to your reader. In my particular book, because you have two of the main characters being introduced to the magical world, I have to be very careful about not doing one of my personal pet peeves, which is info dumping. After the introduction, those two characters are introduced to the world, and it's going to be very easy to be lazy and just introduce a bunch of information right then and explain it all to them and just have it be really boring narrative and prose. So I want to have my world building just be really tight and interesting and stretch out over the entire book so that you're getting fed little pieces, but they make sense when they're coming out. They're not too many at once. They're done in such a way that they're very believable and they don't just kind of stick out like a sore thumb in the story. My third objective and my third round of revisions that I'm sure I'm going to be doing this month is focusing on not specifically character development on its own, but specifically the development of the friendship between the three main characters, which is a very, very important, I speak English, a very important aspect of my novel. So right now in the first draft, it's very poorly done, where you have them meet in the beginning and then I just have the bare bones of the main plot, and then at the end they're magically friends without much development in the middle. So that's going to be my third round of revisions, is putting in scenes that kind of show the development of their friendship, show especially Finnegan, who's the most closed off of the three characters, kind of opening up and trusting these two other people more. And that's going to be very critical to the resolution of my story and the emotional payoff at the end of my story. Question number 5 is, what is the biggest weakness in your writing you hope to specifically focus on in editing this round? So besides the 3 objectives I already mentioned, which I feel like already spell out the main major flaws in my story, the thing that has been standing out to me as I've been rereading the draft is that I have this annoying habit of, in different sections, overusing one word or phrase, and it's a different word or phrase all throughout the book, but it'll just randomly be used 3 or 4 times in one chapter, or 10 times in 2 chapters or something, and it's just very annoying and distracting. So that's definitely something I'm going to be working on, maybe not so much during the first few rounds, but at the end of September when I'm kind of polishing everything and rewording things that sound awkward. Question number 6 is, what steps have you already taken to start editing your novel? So the biggest thing I've done, and I have a video about it actually, is that I went and printed off a physical copy of my manuscript. I'm just a very tactile person and I like having something that I can hold and work with. So this is something that's going to be very beneficial for me. I've also worked a lot on my world building Bible. So this has outlines, it has character information, it has creature information, world building, magic system, all sorts of things in here that are going to help me as I do the revisions on this project. Question number 7 is, what is your timeline? For the first week of August, I'm going to be doing the read through and kind of note-taking slash correction making part of revisions and editing. I already showed you I have a physical copy of my manuscript. I'm going to be making notes and marking it up and just making it look like a crazy red mess. So that's my starting point, and it will hopefully, like I said, only last a week. Straight after that, I'm going to dive into the biggest objective of this revision project, which is the mystery slash detective middle section of the book. So a lot of it actually does need to be rewritten. There's a character that was introduced in the first draft that I kind of just let fizzle and go to the side, and I didn't utilize her like I really wanted to. So that's going to be a big thing that's going to change. A lot of the clues are going to change, and hopefully it's just going to be more interesting, more engaging, and more believable as a mystery once I'm done with it. As far as timeline goes for that, I know it's going to take the most amount of time for August and September, so I'm thinking I won't be finishing that section until the earliest the end of August, and hopefully the latest the first week of September will be taken up with that, and then the second week will be, on to the next thing. The next thing I will be focusing on, like I already mentioned with my objectives, is world building. I think that will take 1 week to 1.5 weeks, somewhere around there. And then of course the next thing is the development of the friendship between the 3 main characters, and that as well will take 1 week to 1.5 weeks. From there, whatever time I have left in September will be spent on going through and rereading this second draft and kind of making final polishing so that I can send it off to my critique partner once September ends. That was an accident, but I feel like I just made a Green Day reference. Question number 8 is, what tools will you use to help you stay organized? So I'm going to be using my beautiful planner to keep track of my progress each day. That's going to be very important. Also, in my world building Bible, I'm going to be doing a full outline after I've done my read through and kind of figured out how I want to change things up, especially with the mystery slash detective part of the novel. So that's going to be critical as I do my revisions and decide what direction to take things in. Once I actually get into the revisions and editing, I'm going to be using Scrivener, which I have found to be incredibly useful for organizing your novel, saving chunks that you're not sure what to do with, moving things around, comparing scenes that are similar and deciding what parts you want to take from each, all that sort of stuff. I really love Scrivener for that. Question number 9 is, how do you plan on handling setbacks? So besides crying in front of the TV and eating way too much chocolate for a human being, I am definitely going to be calling on my critique partner a lot. She's really good at helping me work through roadblocks and problems in my story. So I have like preemptive gratitude for how much she's going to help me through this process. Rebeccah has also told me to bounce ideas off of her, and she's a great writer, so I'm sure that's going to be really, really helpful. Thank you, Rebeccah. I hope I don't annoy you with all my, oh, help, I'm stuck again. You're probably going to regret offering, honestly. And then, of course, there's always crying to my husband because he's good at making me feel better. Ultimately, I am always going to return to the new outline I write after my read through, just to kind of reevaluate things, see where I'm going wrong, and see if I need to tweak something. And the final question, question number 10, which is incredibly important, is how are you going to keep yourself motivated? So I actually bought myself 3 books as kind of a late birthday present and as a way to keep myself motivated through August and September as I'm doing these crazy revisions. So the first one you guys probably recognize is Keeper by Kim Chance. Starting today, August 5th, she's actually doing a read-along of Keeper in celebration of the sequel, Seeker, which I think is coming out in September. So I'm going to be participating in that, and I'm just really excited because I feel like it's going to be a light, enjoyable, fun read, and that's something I'm going to need throughout this process. The next book I bought is the second book in my favorite series from when I was a young adult, which is Close Kin, Book 2 of the Hollow Kingdom trilogy. I've actually got the first book right here already in my collection, and eventually I'll get the third one, but I am excited to read the second one once again. I think this is like the 5th or 6th time. And the last one I bought is another book by an author tuber. This is actually a collection of I think 6 short stories by Jasmine Shea Townsend. Hopefully I pronounced all of that right. Sorry Jasmine if I messed something up. But it is a collection of 3 fantasy short stories and 3 science fiction short stories, which I am very excited to read. And honestly, besides all that, of course I'm going to eat a lot of chocolate. Of course I'm going to eat ice cream. Of course I'm going to be petting my cat and dog and going, what did I get myself into? but ultimately I believe in myself. I was able to finish that first draft after doubting myself for so many years, so I need to just believe in my abilities and be proud of myself as a writer and be excited about the prospect of finally getting this book out to readers. So yeah, that's all the questions. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it and that you're excited to watch me fail hard the next couple months. If for some reason you haven't seen Rebeccah's video yet, I'm going to have that link down below in the description box. Well, wish me luck guys, because I'm sure going to need it. I am going to be vlogging throughout August and September, so be sure to subscribe so that you can kind of watch and learn from the mistakes I make and maybe learn from the good things that I do, because I'm hoping there'll be plenty that I am proud of at the end of this. Thanks again for watching this video. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and as always, happy writing. Bye!